The cameras flashed, the crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession: the ultimate reality TV betrayal.
It really is the ultimate betrayal. Just wild.
Jax Taylor finally confirms his new romance after the Brittany Cartwright split. Welcome to Starscope Report. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we take a deep dive into the sources and the stories behind the fame.
And today we have a massive stack of sources to get through. We're pulling from TMZ, Variety, Us Weekly, Reality Tea, and the Signal Stream.
We really are. And our mission for today's deep dive is to dissect the explosive fallout of Jax Taylor's shocking new romance, look at the incredibly messy legal battle it triggered, and then we'll wrap up with a rapid-fire look at some huge shakeups in the broader entertainment industry.
Right. And, the common thread weaving through all of these stories today is this idea of narrative control, like who actually pulls the strings when the cameras stop rolling.
Or I guess when a network suddenly forces them to start rolling again, right?
It's fascinating.
So let's jump straight into the deep end. The headline that just completely broke the internet this week: former Vanderpump Rules star Jax Taylor was caught chest to chest in a Mexican infinity pool with a new woman.
Which, a newly single reality star dating again isn't exactly earth-shattering news by itself.
No, definitely not. But the shocking twist: the woman in the pool is Lori Krebs. And for those who don't know, she is his and his estranged wife, Brittany Cartwright's longtime shared publicist.
Yeah, that is the part that just makes your jaw drop. To understand the sheer gravity of a publicist crossing that line, we really have to look at the timeline and the mechanics of Hollywood PR.
For sure. Because Jax and Brittany were married for 5 years. They officially separated in January 2024 and then filed for divorce in August of 2024.
Right. And throughout that entire tumultuous period, Lori Krebs wasn't just some rep fielding media calls or, sending out basic press releases.
According to multiple sources, she was an intimate confidant. She represented Brittany for a decade, a full 10 years.
Which is an eternity in Hollywood.
It really is. She guided Brittany through some incredibly dark days, including that initial split from Jax. This wasn't just a transactional business relationship where they spoke on the phone once a month.
Definitely not. In high-stakes PR, your publicist knows everything.
Yeah.
Your financial vulnerabilities, your passwords, your scheduling, your deep insecurities.
Right. They know where all the bodies are buried because their literal job is to keep them buried.
Exactly. Which is why the visuals from this Puerto Vallarta trip are causing such a massive shockwave. We're looking at the weekend of July 11th, which was Jax's 47th birthday.
And they were staying at the Hotel Musai, right?
Yes. And eyewitnesses speaking to TMZ confirmed this was not some discreet, hidden-away little getaway. They were engaging in heavy PDA, wrapping their arms around each other, floating in the main pool.
Wow.
Yeah, they made zero effort to hide it.
And Jax even threw gasoline on the fire himself. He replied to a recent Instagram comment confirming that he is, quote, taken.
Oh, of course he did.
But I want to pull back a layer here, because rumors about these two actually sparked way back in 2024. Jax posted a selfie with Lori. Fans started speculating immediately, and Brittany brushed it off completely.
Because of the girl code, right?
Exactly. She cited girl code. She trusted Lori implicitly.
From a functional business perspective, a PR representative dating the estranged husband of their client is just a structural disaster.
It really is. I have to challenge the logic of this from the publicist side. Isn't this the Hollywood equivalent of, like, a marriage counselor running off with your spouse?
It's a perfect analogy. You are hired to protect two people whose interests are actively diverging during a really messy divorce. You cannot objectively manage a client's crisis when you are romantically entangled with their primary adversary.
How does a crisis manager look at the situation and not realize they are detonating their own career? They literally became the PR nightmare they are paid to prevent.
Well, when you look at the psychological mechanics of high-stress environments, logic often takes a back seat.
That's a good point.
Yeah. When individuals share prolonged, intense stress, like Lori and Brittany did during the separation, or like Lori and Jax did during his recovery and rehab stints, a phenomenon similar to trauma bonding can form.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah, sources actually mention Jax and Lori bonded over their respective divorces and the shared experience of raising children with autism. It creates this highly insulated bubble where the outside world's judgment just feels completely irrelevant.
Well, the outside world definitely shattered that bubble. The fallout was instantaneous. The second those TMZ photos surfaced, Brittany fired Lori and severed all ties.
As she should have.
Right. And Lori immediately deactivated her Instagram account, essentially vanishing from the very platform she uses for her livelihood. Us Weekly sources reported Brittany is, quote, sick to her stomach.
Which is completely understandable. It rewrites the entire history of Brittany's professional and personal support system.
Yeah. And the Valley co-star Kristen Doubt publicly blasted Jax, calling his actions diabolical. She really emphasized that Brittany is the true victim of this ultimate boundary crossing.
But, the social media drama is just the surface layer here. The legal ramifications of this poolside romance are far more severe. They're threatening to completely unravel a very delicate family court agreement.
And that's not even the wildest part. Wait until you hear how this situation could completely detonate their delicate legal agreements and how Bravo is getting involved. If you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed, because we've got even crazier stories ahead in this deep dive.
So shifting from the court of public opinion to actual family court, we really need to look at the strict custody clauses in play here.
Let's lay the groundwork for that. Jax and Brittany share a 5-year-old son named Cruz. Cruz has autism and is mostly nonverbal, so he requires consistent speech and occupational therapy.
Right, stability is key.
Exactly. In March 2026, after a rocky separation where Jax actually spent time in a mental health and substance abuse facility, they finalized a highly structured joint custody agreement.
And Brittany is the primary custodian in that agreement.
She is. While Jax has specific parenting time with strict sobriety clauses attached.
But there is also a very specific parameter regarding new relationships. The clause strictly prohibits either parent from introducing a new romantic partner to Cruz until that relationship has lasted at least 6 months.
Now, you might be thinking, why is a 6-month rule so rigid? But if you've ever tried to establish a routine for a neurodivergent child, you know that stability isn't just a preference. It is a neurological necessity.
Yeah, think of it like a corporate probation period, but for family stability. Family courts use this 6-month metric to measure the durability of a new element before introducing it to a child who relies on predictability.
Right, because transient partners can cause severe behavioral regression.
Exactly. But the Lori Krebs romance introduces a massive legal loophole. Because she was their publicist, Lori was already deeply embedded in their lives. Has Cruz already been introduced to her?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Right. And if a professional relationship slowly transitions into a romantic one, how does a judge determine when that 6-month clock actually started ticking?
It is a total legal gray area, and while that ambiguity just hangs in the air, the mudslinging has officially kicked off. Jax's lawyer, Mark Vincent Kaplan, went straight to the press.
Of course he did.
He accused Brittany of stalling the divorce, claiming she showed up to a settlement conference completely unprepared and missing required financial documents.
We really need to look at the mechanics of a legal leak here. Why does a high-powered family lawyer plant a story in TMZ?
Misdirection.
Exactly. It's a classic misdirection strategy. Jax just lost his shared publicist. He doesn't have Lori filtering his image anymore. By leaking details of a private settlement conference, his legal counsel is attempting to seize narrative control.
Wow, so they want the public talking about Brittany's missing paperwork instead of Jax's poolside photos.
You got it. It's PR 101, just executed by a lawyer instead of a publicist.
Well, Brittany's camp didn't take it lying down. They fired back through their own channels, stating that Jax's past rehab stints and his unresolved financial issues are the actual bottlenecks in the divorce.
It's just getting so incredibly messy.
It is. But amidst all this legal maneuvering, the network saw an opportunity. Bravo announced they are immediately resuming production on The Valley Season 3 specifically to capture Brittany's real-time reaction to the Lori Krebs news.
Which is a fascinating production pivot, honestly.
Yeah.
Considering Jax wasn't even included in the official Season 3 cast lineup.
Right, he was effectively iced out of the show. But his actions are now dictating the entire shooting schedule.
And fans are flooding social media demanding to know why the network is doing this. They're leaving comments like, stop allowing Jax Taylor to haunt the narrative.
Yeah, they're calling the renewed filming totally unnecessary and exploitative.
But I have to push back hard on this fan outrage. Ooh, how so?
Well, fans are screaming this is unnecessary online, but if everyone is so genuinely outraged, why does a massive television network immediately spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to mobilize a production crew?
That's a fair point.
Right. Isn't our outrage exactly what funds this reality TV ecosystem? We claim we want ethical behavior, but the ratings consistently reward the exact opposite.
I see your point about the economics of viewership, definitely. But I think that ignores the human collateral caught in the crossfire.
What do you mean?
We are talking about a 5-year-old child with autism. Reality television inherently weaponizes personal trauma for content. By rushing cameras back into Brittany's home to capture her raw devastation over her publicist and her ex-husband, the network is commodifying a family's genuine crisis.
Yeah, they're turning a psychological breaking point into a season finale cliffhanger.
Exactly. It's incredibly dark when you step back and look at it.
It is, but Brittany, to her credit, seems to recognize that trap. She spoke out on her own podcast when reality hits, and she was incredibly measured.
Which is impressive under the circumstances.
Seriously. She stated she is focusing entirely on protecting her peace and her son, promising she will tell her truth very soon on her own terms.
That is honestly the smartest PR move she could make, especially without a publicist. She is withholding the emotional outburst the network is paying to capture.
Yeah, she's prioritizing her child's stability over the immediate spectacle.
And retaining ownership of her own voice in the process. Jax Taylor is learning the hard way that you can't always buy or maneuver your way out of the rules.
But it turns out that is a lesson even the richest and most powerful entities in Hollywood are being forced to learn this week. Later in this deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming in the wider entertainment industry involving blocked billionaires and how the king of pop is saving a massive studio.
Yeah, the themes of narrative control we are seeing with Jax and Brittany are playing out right now on a massive, multi-billion-dollar corporate scale.
Let's dive into our Starscope Hollywood and music industry newsflash. The bold headline here, state enforcers just delivered a knockout blow to Hollywood's giants, and Michael Jackson's ghost is single-handedly propping up Sony.
It's been a crazy week for corporate Hollywood. A federal judge has shockingly blocked the massive Paramount-Warner merger.
This is huge.
It is. For context, Oracle billionaire Larry Ellison has been aggressively attempting to execute a Hollywood roll-up.
And let's just define that for a second for anyone who's unfamiliar. A roll-up is a corporate strategy where a massive entity aggressively buys up smaller or competing legacy companies in the same market.
Right, to consolidate power and eliminate competition.
Exactly. Ellison wanted to buy the entire Hollywood narrative machine.
And the judge just froze it in its tracks. I mean, for years, mega mergers have sort of sailed through regulatory bodies, constantly shrinking the number of gatekeepers who decide what movies and shows actually get made.
So this ruling is a monumental victory for anti-monopoly advocates.
Absolutely. It demonstrates that state enforcers are finally drawing a hard line against unchecked corporate consolidation. It proves that no matter how many billions you throw at an industry, regulatory bodies still hold the final veto power.
It's that illusion of control again. Speaking of legacy studios facing harsh realities, let's look at Sony. Sony's movie unit just plummeted 13% this quarter. They only had one single North American theatrical hit.
Which is brutal for a studio of that size.
Right. By all traditional metrics, their entertainment division should be in total panic mode. But they aren't going under. Why? Because their music arm is absolutely booming, driven almost entirely by renewed interest in Michael Jackson's catalog.
We really have to look at the mechanics of why an old catalog saves a modern studio. Modern theatrical releases are just incredibly high risk right now.
Oh, the budgets are insane.
Yeah, you spend $200 million to produce a film and another $100 million to market it with literally zero guarantee of a return. A legacy catalog like Michael Jackson's is the exact opposite.
Because the production costs were paid off decades ago.
Exactly. Every time a song is streamed, used in a TikTok trend, or licensed for a commercial, it is pure overhead-free profit. It provides this massive financial life raft that allows the movie division to survive its flops.
It is just wild to think that decades after his peak, Michael Jackson's art is physically keeping a multinational conglomerate afloat.
It really is.
But, you know, modern artists are still fighting for their piece of the narrative, too. Shania Twain just sat down for a remarkably raw interview.
I read this. It was so intense.
It was. At 58, she opened up and revealed that she grew up in a, quote, very violent childhood home. She said she was kicked around by her parents, likening the atmosphere of her house to a really bad thunderstorm.
A thunderstorm is such a visceral analogy. It perfectly captures the unpredictability of a volatile home. You just never know when or where the lightning will strike.
Exactly.
And for a global superstar known for empowering, upbeat anthems, songs that define celebration for millions of people to reveal that level of childhood trauma, it completely recontextualizes her artistry.
It really does. It shows how artists use their public narrative to process private pain, controlling when and how they reveal their history.
Yeah, and the emotional whiplash of the industry is just fascinating. On one hand, you have the heartbreaking vulnerability of a veteran like Shania Twain. On the other, New Music Friday just delivered highly polished, chart-dominating drops from Ariana Grande and Cardi B.
Right. It is the raw, unvarnished truth sitting right next to the hyper-produced, meticulously PR-managed spectacle.
It's quite the contrast. We also received some sobering news regarding the people who document this very industry. Glenn A. Baker passed away at 74.
Yes, the legendary Australian music historian and former Billboard correspondent, he was a titan of music journalism, dedicating his entire life to archiving the stories behind the sound.
And the importance of archiving history actually brings us to a fascinating new retrospective at the Locarno Film Festival called Red and Black. It is exposing Hollywood's incredibly dark history regarding the Red Scare.
For those unfamiliar, the Red Scare refers to a period in the 1940s and 50s where the U.S. government and studio executives actively hunted down and blacklisted artists, writers, and directors accused of communist sympathies.
Yeah, the exhibition details how legends like Charlie Chaplin were targeted.
It is the ultimate historical example of what we've been talking about today. It shows how fear, political pressure, and corporate power were weaponized to silence artists and physically control the cultural narrative.
Whether it is a government blacklisting a director in the 1950s or a federal judge blocking a billionaire's merger today, it always comes down to a battle for influence. Like, who gets to own the studios? Who decides which artists are allowed to work?
Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next in the world of pop culture.
Because the mechanics behind the headlines are always more complex than a quick social media post makes them seem.
Which brings us to the ultimate question. Why should you care about all of this? Why does a messy reality TV divorce in Puerto Vallarta or a blocked corporate merger matter to your daily life? I think it highlights the absolute illusion of control.
I completely agree. Whether you are a reality star trying to manage a PR scandal by dating your crisis manager, or you are a billionaire tech mogul trying to forcefully buy up a historic movie studio, you are never truly in the driver's seat.
No, you're not.
The public, the regulatory bodies, the legal system, they always have the final say.
Jax Taylor thought he could quietly take his publicist to a resort. Larry Ellison thought he could quietly buy Paramount. Both were abruptly reminded that the world is watching and the rules still apply.
It is the hubris of thinking you can outsmart the mechanics of the system. When a reality star dates their crisis manager, they don't solve the crisis. They just permanently blur the line between their personal life and their public relations strategy until neither one functions properly anymore.
Which leaves us with a lingering thought for you to chew on. We live in an era where everyone, not just celebrities, is branding their own life on social media.
Very true.
We curate our feeds, we manage our own personal PR every single day. So are any of us ever truly off the clock? Or is absolutely everything, even our most private moments, just a potential storyline waiting for a camera to turn back on?
It is a chilling thought, especially when you realize that the camera is usually the one we are willingly holding in our own hands.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.